The signal and response. The first hint at humanity wasn't alone came on an ordinary Tuesday. Commander Elena Reyes was halfway through her shift at the Lunar Deep Space Monitoring Station when the anomaly appeared on her screen. A pattern buried in the background radiation from HD 189,733 bits, a star system 40 light-years from Earth. At first, she dismissed it as equipment malfunction. "Mason, run a diagnostic on Array 7. She called to her technician. "I'm getting interference patterns." Mason looked up from his own console. "Already did, Commander. Arrays are functioning at optimal capacity." Elena frowned, tapping her stylus against her desk. The signal persisted, a regular pulsing that couldn't be natural. As a 20-year veteran of space monitoring, she knew random cosmic noise when she saw it. This was different. "Isolate and enhance," she ordered, and the computers complied. The pattern became clearer. 3 short bursts, 3 long, 3 short again. An ancient human distress signal, SOS, repeated over and over. Within hours, confirmation came from 3 other Earth observatories and 2 Mars outposts. The signal was no glitch. Humanity had received its first verified alien communication, and it was a cry for help. At the United Earth Security Council's emergency session in Geneva, the chamber buzzed with tension. Representatives from every nation sat in stunned silence as Dr. Vikram Patel, head of exobiology at MIT, explained what they knew. "The signal contains embedded data," he said, projecting a hologram above the center table. "We've partially decoded it. It's from a civilization calling themselves the Ashtari. Their star system is under attack by something they call the Swarm. They're asking for assistance from any technological civilization that can hear them." General Laura Chin, commander of Earth's combined military forces, leaned forward. "What kind of assistance could we possibly provide to an alien civilization 40 light-years away?" Dr. Patel exchanged glances with a woman in a plain gray suit at the back of the room. She nodded slightly, and he continued. "That's why Director Novak is here." The woman in gray approached the table. "Katerina Novak, director of Project Prometheus." She introduced herself. "I'm not familiar with this project," said the representative from Africa. "Few are," Director Novak replied. "For 25 years, humanity has been preparing for this exact scenario under the highest classification levels. We've developed technology far beyond what is publicly known." Screens around the room lit up with schematics of massive ships, unlike anything the council members had seen before. "This is the Prometheus fleet," Novak continued. 18 warships with experimental FTL drives, quantum weaponry, and shielding systems reverse-engineered from materials we discovered in Antarctica in 2047. The room erupted in voices. Some council members shouted about secrecy and violations of international agreements. Others demanded to know who had authorized such a program. "The Antarctic Treaty Organization authorized it," Novak replied calmly. "After what we found buried under the ice, technology not of human origin, it became clear we might not be alone, and we might need protection." When the chaos subsided, Council President Mbeki asked the question on everyone's mind. "What exactly are you proposing, Director?" "I propose we answer the call," Novak said simply. "The Prometheus fleet can reach HD 189,733 bits in approximately 70 days using the Einstein-Rosen propulsion system. We send our ships, we help the Ashtari, and we learn about what threatens them, because if the swarm is moving through the galaxy, Earth could eventually be on its path." The debate lasted for 3 days. Some argued it was too risky to send Earth's secret defense fleet so far away. Others saw it as humanity's moral duty to help. In the end, the vote was 143 to 57 in favor of the mission. Captain Maya Rodriguez stood in the massive underground hangar beneath the Sea of Tranquility, staring up at the gleaming hull of the UES Horizon, the flagship of humanity's secret fleet. For 15 years, she had trained for a mission that might never come. Now it was here. "Beautiful, isn't she?" came a voice behind her. Maya turned to see Admiral James Takahashi, the mission commander. "I still can't believe we're actually going," Maya said. 40 light years. First contact. Potential combat against an unknown alien force. Takahashi smiled grimly. Not just potential combat. The Ashtari message was clear. The swarm has already destroyed 2 of their colony worlds. They're fighting for survival. And we're risking 18 ships and 7,000 lives to help aliens we've never met, Maya replied. "That's humanity at its best," Takahashi said, "rushing to help when no one would blame us for staying home." All around them, the base was a hive of activity. Crew members loaded supplies, engineers performed final system checks, and weapons specialists calibrated the quantum torpedo arrays. The Prometheus fleet had been maintained in a constant state of readiness, but now the mission was real. Lieutenant Commander David Chen, the Horizon's science officer, approached with a tablet. "Captain, Admiral, we've received more data from the Ashtari signal," he reported. "Our linguists have made more progress in translation." The tablet displayed patterns of light and color that the Ashtari used for communication. Alongside ran the translation algorithm's best interpretation. "The swarm appears to be some kind of resource-consuming collective," David explained. "They strip planets of all valuable elements and move on. No negotiation, no mercy." Maya studied the report. "Any information on their weapons, defenses?" "Some," David replied. "They use some kind of energy-draining technology. The Ashtari have advanced shields, but the swarm can somehow phase through them." Takahashi frowned. "That's concerning. Our quantum shields are our primary defense." "Dr. Kalman has some ideas about modifications," David said. "She's running simulations now." Dr. Sophia Kalman was the fleet's lead physicist, responsible for much of the theoretical work that had made the FTL drives possible. If anyone could find a counter to the swarm's technology, it would be her. 3 days later, the Prometheus fleet was ready to launch. The massive underground doors on the lunar surface slid open for the first time, revealing the star-filled vacuum above. One by one, the ships lifted silently into space, their exotic propulsion systems leaving no visible exhaust. On the bridge of the Horizon, Maya sat in the captain's chair, running through final checks with her crew. "Navigation, course plotted?" she asked. "Aye, Captain," replied Lieutenant Farouk. "Course to HD 189,733 bits locked in. Engineering, FTL status. Einstein-Rosen generators at full capacity, Captain," came the response from Chief Engineer Yoshida, "ready to create the bridge on your command." Maya looked to Admiral Takahashi, who nodded. She opened a channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, this is Captain Rodriguez. We are about to embark on the most important mission in human history. 40 light years from home. A civilization needs our help. We don't know what we'll face, but we know why we're going. Because it's the right thing to do. Because if Earth were in danger, we'd hope someone would answer our call too." She paused, looking around at her crew. The best of Earth's nations, working together. Einstein-Rosen generators engage. Prepare for FTL jump in 3, 2, 1. The space before the Prometheus fleet seemed to fold in on itself, creating a swirling tunnel of light. The ships accelerated forward, passing through the dimensional bridge that would carry them across 40 light-years of space in just over 2 months. The Prometheus fleet was on its way to answer humanity's first interstellar distress call, the Confrontation and Alliance. After 68 days of travel through the Einstein-Rosen corridor, the Prometheus fleet emerged into the HD 189,733-bit system. The bridge crew of the UES Horizon collectively held their breath as the sensors came back online. "Full sensor sweep," Captain Maya Rodriguez ordered, her voice steady despite the tension. "Multiple planets detected," reported Lieutenant Commander Chen from the science station. Third planet shows signs of advanced technology and extensive damage. Multiple orbital structures destroyed. Debris field is massive. Admiral Takahashi leaned forward. Any signs of the Ashtari, or this swarm? Detecting numerous ships in orbit around the third planet, Lieutenant Farouk replied from tactical. Configuration unknown. They appear to be feeding on something. The main view screen displayed the scene. A beautiful blue-green world surrounded by strange, insect-like vessels. Where they touched the planet's surface, the color seemed to drain away, leaving gray, lifeless terrain. They're extracting resources directly from the planet's crust, Chen said, his voice tight. At this rate, they'll render the entire world uninhabitable within days. Are we receiving any transmissions from the surface? Maya asked. Communications Officer Garcia adjusted her earpiece. Yes, Captain. Weak signal, same encoding as the original distress call. Translating now. A series of colors and patterns appeared on a secondary screen, rapidly converting to text. Unknown vessels. You have entered swarm feeding grounds. If you are the responding species, the Ashtari survivors are sheltered in the northern polar city. The swarm has not yet breached our final shields. Please hurry. Maya exchanged glances with Takahashi. They're still alive. And we need a plan to keep them that way, the Admiral replied. Tactical assessment. Lieutenant Commander Ivanova, weapons officer, studied her readings. I count approximately 200 swarm vessels, sir. They appear to be focused on resource extraction, not combat. Most have minimal shielding active. They don't expect resistance, Maya observed. They've probably never encountered it before. Takahashi nodded slowly. That gives us an advantage, but not for long. Once we engage, they'll adapt. Dr. Kalman to the bridge, Maya called over the intercom. Minutes later, the fleet's chief physicist arrived. The swarm ships are using some kind of quantum siphon technology, she reported after reviewing the sensor data. They're extracting elements at the subatomic level. Fascinating, really, if it weren't being used to destroy a civilization. Can we stop them? Takahashi asked bluntly. Dr. Kalman smiled. I've modified our quantum torpedoes to create a reverse phase reaction. In theory, when they hit a swarm ship using active siphon technology, it should trigger a feedback loop that disrupts their extraction systems. In theory, Maya questioned. We've never encountered anything like this before, Captain, Kalman replied with a shrug. But human ingenuity is our greatest weapon. The plan came together quickly. The fleet would split into 3 groups, one to directly engage the swarm vessels, one to rescue Ashtari survivors from the surface, and one to remain in reserve, adapting tactics based on the swarm's response. All ships, move into position, Admiral Takahashi ordered. Horizon will lead Alpha Group for direct engagement. Montreal and Johannesburg will lead Beta Group for evacuation operations. Tokyo will command Gamma Group as tactical reserve. The Prometheus fleet moved with precision, each ship taking its designated position. The swarm vessels, still focused on resource extraction, didn't immediately react to the approaching human ships. They're ignoring us, Maya observed. Not for long, Takahashi replied. Weapons free, Captain. Maya nodded to Lieutenant Commander Ivanova. Target the nearest swarm vessels engaged in active extraction. Fire quantum torpedoes. The Horizon's advanced weapons launchers released a volley of glowing projectiles. They streaked across space, impacting the nearest swarm ships. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the affected vessels began to convulse, their smooth surfaces rippling with energy discharges. Direct hit. Kalman's modifications are working, Chen reported excitedly. The swarm ships are experiencing catastrophic systems failure. But the victory was short-lived. The remaining swarm vessels immediately broke off their extraction activities, reorganizing into attack formations with startling speed. They're adapting, Takahashi observed grimly. All ships, evasive maneuvers. The space around the planet erupted into chaos. Swarm vessels unleashed energy beams that drained the shields of human ships at an alarming rate. The Prometheus fleet responded with quantum torpedoes and phased energy cannons, scoring hits but finding the swarm's adaptation speed unnerving. On the Horizon's bridge, Maya gripped her chair as the ship shuddered under a direct hit. "Shields at 47% and falling," reported Chief Engineer Yoshida. "Their weapons are specifically targeting our shield frequency." "Rotate shield harmonics," Maya ordered. "Random pattern, maximum variation." Meanwhile, Bika Group had broken through to the planet's surface, landing near the Ashtari's last stronghold. The first human-alien contact happened as Lieutenant Commander Sarah Okoro of the Montreal stepped onto alien soil, face to face with the Ashtari. They were tall, crystalline beings that seemed to shift colors with their emotions, currently a deep purple that the translation matrix interpreted as desperate hope. "We are representatives of Earth," Okoro transmitted through the matrix. "We received your distress call. You crossed 40 light measures to help strangers." The lead Ashtari's colors shifted to a mixture of blue and gold, amazement and gratitude. "Why?" "Because it's what humans do," Okoro replied simply. "Now, let's get your people to safety." Above, the battle intensified. 3 human ships had sustained serious damage, and the swarm's adaptation to their weapons was concerning. Dr. Kalman worked frantically to adjust the quantum torpedoes, trying to stay ahead of the swarm's rapid evolution. "Captain, I'm detecting something strange," Chen reported suddenly. "The swarm ships aren't individual entities. They are connected through some kind of quantum entanglement network. They're sharing information instantaneously." Maya's eyes widened. "That's how they adapt so quickly. They're a hive mind." "If they're entangled," Dr. Kalman said slowly, "then they share weaknesses too. We don't need to destroy each ship individually. We just need to disrupt the entire network." Maya finished. "How?" "The Einstein-Rosen generators," Kalman replied. "We can modify them to create a localized phase disruption. It won't be enough to destroy them, but it might sever their connection temporarily, buying us time to hit them when they can't adapt." Takahashi nodded. "Do it." As Beta Group evacuated Ashtari survivors to the fleet's transport vessels, Alpha Group implemented Kalman's desperate plan. The Horizon positioned itself at the center of the swarm formation, its Einstein-Rosen generators reconfigured to emit a special form of quantum radiation. "All friendly ships, clear the disruption zone," Maya ordered. "Initiating phase disruption in 3, 2, 1. The Horizon's generators released a pulse of energy that was invisible to the naked eye, but fundamental at the quantum level. For a brief moment, space itself seemed to shudder. The effect on the swarm was immediate. Their perfect formation dissolved into chaos as individual ships lost connection to the hive mind. "It worked," Chen exclaimed. "Quantum entanglement disrupted. Swarm coordination is down by 83%. All ships, fire everything we've got," Admiral Takahashi commanded. "Target their primary extraction systems." The Prometheus fleet unleashed its full arsenal. Without their instantaneous adaptation capability, the swarm vessels were vulnerable. One by one, they began to fall to the human weapons. On the surface, the last of the Ashtari evacuees were boarding the transport ships when the ground began to shake violently. "What's happening?" Okoro demanded. The Ashtari leader's colors shifted to alarmed red. "The swarm has initiated planetary consumption protocol. They're attempting to extract the planet's core material all at once rather than lose it." "Everyone on board, now," Okoro shouted, helping the remaining Ashtari onto the transports. "Bridge, we need emergency extraction. The planet is becoming unstable." The transport ships lifted off as the ground beneath them began to break apart. All around the planet, the remaining swarm vessels had attached themselves directly to the planet's surface, driving extraction tendrils deep into the crust. "We can't let them complete this," Maya said, watching the horrifying spectacle from orbit. "If they succeed, they'll gain enough energy to overwhelm us completely. Dr. Kallman stepped forward. Captain, we still have one option. The Einstein-Rosen generators can be overloaded to create a localized implosion. It won't destroy the planet, but it might disrupt the extraction process long enough for us to evacuate. That would disable our FTL capability, Chief Engineer Yoshida warned. Better stranded than dead, Maya replied. Do it. The Horizon moved into position directly above the main swarm extraction site. As the last Ashteri transports cleared the atmosphere, Maya gave the order. Overload the ER generators. Full power. The ship shuddered as its most advanced system was pushed beyond safety limits. A brilliant flash of light erupted from the horizon, enveloping the planet below. The effect rippled across the surface, disrupting the swarm's extraction attempt and sending feedback through their systems. One by one, the swarm vessels began to detach from the planet, their systems damaged beyond immediate repair. Without coordination, they retreated in disarray, disappearing toward the outer reaches of the system. 3 days later, the combined fleet, human ships, and Ashteri evacuation vessels gathered at the system's edge. The Ashteri homeworld was damaged, but had survived. Their civilization had been preserved, though they would need to rebuild. In the Horizon's conference room, Captain Rodriguez and Admiral Takahashi met with the Ashteri leadership. We owe you our existence. The lead Ashteri's colors rippled with solemn blue and gold. How can we repay such a debt? By helping us understand the swarm, Takahashi replied. They retreated, but they'll recover. And eventually, they might find their way to Earth. And by joining us, Maya added, humanity has just taken its first steps into the interstellar community. We would be honored if the Ashteri would stand with us as our first allies. The Ashteri's colors shifted to a bright silver, a color the humans hadn't seen before. This is the color of new beginnings, the Ashteri explained. In all our history, we never imagined our salvation would come from so far away, from beings so different from ourselves. Yet here you are, humans who crossed 40 light measures to save strangers. Admiral Takahashi smiled. That's what humans do. When we hear a call for help, we answer. As the Prometheus fleet began preparations for the long journey home, now carrying ambassadors from a grateful alien civilization, word of their success was already traveling back to Earth via quantum communication. Humanity had faced its first interstellar crisis and emerged not just victorious, but with new allies and new knowledge of the dangers that lurked among the stars. The mission that began with a desperate SOS had ended with humanity proving its place in the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as protectors, not through overwhelming power, but through courage, ingenuity, and the simple willingness to help those in need, no matter how distant or different they might be. That was humanity at its best. That was humanity, indeed.